Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah.
We have a very esteemed and distinguished guest here, a well-known Dai who's actually British but who's been working in UAE for a long time. It's none other than Sh.Ismail Bullock. So, welcome to our podcast again.
Thank you for
Thank you so much for coming here. It's the second consecutive year you come to our podcast. Thank you so much. And let's talk about this event first. It's the 42nd year of Book Fair. So it's amazing, it's been running for so many years.
Exactly.
Yeah, even the COVID pandemic couldn't stop it. Even during when the pandemic was very high, it happened. So it's amazing.
And it always seems to be, well, who knows, but it always seems to be busier every year. There's always more additions.
Yes, and let's take this opportunity to thank the main man who's behind this. All these 42 years, he's been doing this for people of Sharjah and all around the world. It's none other than Sheikh Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasimi. May Allah bless him with good health and long life. So, Sheikh, you're someone who's been working in the Dawah field for a long time here. You might have noticed that recently, there has been a shift. More people have started to adapt to Dawah online, and they're even seeking knowledge from online. So, how do you see this shift?
Well, social media has its ups and downs, and its positives and negatives, and its pros and cons, whatever you want to call it. So it's good, of course, that that the social media has enabled the spread of knowledge, Islam and knowledge in general. But on the there's always a flip side to that, where it can also lead to lots of inauthentic knowledge. And just as you'll find some very good websites on the Quran and Sunnah, the way of the Salaf, you'll also find some very strange ones, but come across as very appealing. So this is a big problem and a big issue where social media has created a platform as well where pretty much anybody can go online. So if someone has a good, I don't know, you could say appearance on social media, sounds good, he may not really know what he's talking about, but it might sound like he does to the general public, and this is where the problem starts, because you have people who talk about things that they're not qualified to talk about. You have people that spread false stories, false weak hadith, many things, and they can sound, even I've come across some accounts where they may be saying to people, go pray graves, for example, and they sound very emotional, and it's quite scary, because if I'm watching it and thinking these guys are very appealing, but I know, alhamdulillah, what they're talking about is incorrect, the average person can easily get sucked in. So this is a big challenge as well.
So what's the way out? Like, as you said, there's been lots of misinformation on social media. So as a common man, as a layman, how can we identify that this is the right and this inauthentic? So how can we filter that out?
Yeah, that's also not an easy question and not an easy answer, because the person, to some extent, they have to have a bit of a foundation already. So, but there's always some telltale signs, and that is a bit like, I did a lecture yesterday for Wisdom Youth, and part of it was touching upon the importance, of course, of Aqidah and staying away from shirk, but also from bid'ah. So there are certain things, that are telltale signs. If the people are telling you on a certain day to do a certain celebration, or to do a certain prayer in the evening, or to fast on that day, and it's not backed up by any authentic hadith, then this is, a sign. There's certain things they tell you to do a certain type of worship, or they tell you to add something to the worship, or they tell you to do it at a certain time, or to do a certain prayer on a certain day, or to make a celebration. And when you look behind this, there's no real authentic knowledge to back it up. These are like telltale signs of hang on a second. So if someone on Isra wal Mi'raj, they come around and they say, you should pray on the night of Isra wal Mi'raj. Okay, that's a telltale sign. Someone says to you, you should go into some kind of acts of worship to celebrate the Prophet, peace be upon him's birthday. This is a telltale sign. And a very big telltale sign is if someone says to you, whoever they may be, that you direct your dua to anybody than Allah. This is the biggest of telltale signs. So this is where people they have to look out for these things, because none of these things are truly backed up with any authentic hadith. They may quote statements here and there. They may quote weak hadiths, fabricated hadiths. They may try to twist, but in reality that information, if we look for it, alhamdulillah, we can find the reality behind this so-called evidences that those people may put forward.
Yeah, also there's been a recent trend that people are more inclined to watching debates because it's more appealing, and it's also high in energy, and it's very thrilling, and you get to see one of your opponents, or a famous critic of Islam, getting destroyed, getting trashed. That's how they publicize it. So, but many times things which are put out are not authentic, as you mentioned.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And the problem with debates, and I think we touched upon this in the last year's podcast, is that if you look at the scholars, for example, even like our Sheikh here in Sharjah, Sheikh Aziz bin Farhal al-Anazi, and other Mashayikh like Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, and those are just the ones that I've personally heard. I'm sure there's so many more. They tell the people to avoid watching debates, and they even went as far to say that these debates are for the person of knowledge with whoever it may be, non-Muslim, deviant, together. It shouldn't be publicized to the general public. And the general public who don't have strong, firm knowledge shouldn't be delving into watching these, because the nature of a debate is sometimes there's a distraction, people get involved, that the moderator comes and cuts one person off, and that person who actually has the truth never got to reply or to clarify the doubt that person who's upon the falsehood put forward. And whether they know or they don't know, that person never heard the reply. Something kind of stays in their heart, like a doubt. Maybe they don't realize it, but it kind of festers in there, and it can get worse and worse. And maybe they feel embarrassed to speak about it, to ask somebody, and it becomes worse and worse. And so, may Allah forbid, they may even start to have aspects of disbelief because of this. This is the problem with the debates, and now with social media, debates are all over the place, And the thing with debates as well, sometimes I remember seeing a debate recently amongst two Muslims. One was generally on the correct way, one wasn't. But because they were both kind of raising their voices backwards and forwards, even if you want to support this one, he's on the truth, there wasn't really any real good points that were brought forward, and same for the other person. So I looked at it and I said it was kind of a waste of a time. They were doing it in a public area, like Speaker's Corner in London or something. And one of them was clearly misguided, but in that particular discussion, it was public, people are coming in, shouting in the background. At the end of that, I said to myself, if I was watching that, I don't know who could I say came out as, quote unquote, the winner. He made some points, and there was no real kind of conclusion to it.
You're right. So just moving away from that, we are living in a time of technology, and on a daily basis there are new technologies coming up, and people are really looking up to what's called artificial intelligence and the new avenues that will be eventually open to people. Everyone's talking about ChatGPT and things like that. So how should a Muslim view this? I mean, there are many people who are scared about it, who say that it's not something which we can accept, and there are many negative sides to it. So what are your views on it? Like, is there any scope for us to start dawah, and even in the field of seeking knowledge, would that be helpful for us?
I think for seeking knowledge, ChatGPT it's not really a source to go to. It may come up with some authentic evidences, but at the same time, if you're a layman, it may quote something that is not quite correct, but to you it sounds correct. And you reminded me of something as well. There's a very scary thing that's going on now where people are replicating the voices of Sheikh bin Baz, Sheikh Uthaymeen, Sheikh Al-Albani, may Allah have mercy on them, and saying completely incorrect fatwas. So, for example, maybe tomorrow somebody will have the voice of Sheikh bin Baz. I hear it, you hear it. We say, that's Sheikh bin Baz. Saying, for example, maybe it is okay to go to the grave every day and pray to a holy man. And people who don't know will say, look, this is Sheikh bin Baz. It's clearly his voice. So it's a very, very scary thing, how they can manipulate things. And so this is a thing as well. Even when we are listening now to audio, you get scared. Is this a real fatwa of Sheikh bin Baz, or is it, for example, an artificial intelligence voice-generated one? So it's good, but also technology is also very scary in this regard, because we know as Muslims, somebody may look at it as like we're not doing any real harm, And Islam, the emphasis on correct and true knowledge is so important. So for us, someone comes along and makes a clip saying if you play football every day, you'll be rewarded. For example, specifically football, and they might think it's a joke, but we know that's a serious thing in Islam, because you're playing around with the religion and you're playing around with Islamic rulings, and people may start to practice something and believe something which is incorrect because of your so-called joke. So it's a big issue in that sense.
May Allah save us all from such fitna. And we know that you've got a very tight schedule, and you've been running around and meeting so many people, and even here you've got some other programs to attend. So before leaving, let me ask you about your long-standing relationship with us, with the Malayali community. You've been cooperating with us in many programs, many events. You've been also to Kerala multiple times, I believe.
I actually haven't been yet.
You haven't been there?
I haven't been.
Oh, okay, it's surprising. Because I think last podcast it was tested your language, your proficiency in our language. I think you told some words in our language.
All I know is every day, other day. And when he goes back to Kerala, this is kind of my limit. A few words here and there.
So how do you see? How do you see us as a community, and how do you rate us?
From what I see is that the community is very active. Mm-hmm. They're doing lots of programs, mashallah. As I'm seeing here lots of books, and it always seems there's an update and adding of books. So alhamdulillah, and the whole radio as well. So these obviously are projects that aren't easy to maintain. Many people start projects and a few months they just leave them. So it requires a lot of dedication, a lot of manpower, which mashallah I see alhamdulillah is being done from yourselves.
May Allah accept all these from us and keep us steadfast and in this way. So thank you so much, Sheikh, for being with us. Hope we can see again next year in the 43rd edition of Sharjah International Book Fair.
Inshallah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Peace Radio. Tune to reality.